leadership is one of the key issues if your organization doesn't work. So look at yourself and be self-reflective. If you encounter problems, and you will likely find the reason for your problems.
De tweede presentatie van Antony Bell gaat meer over de oplossing. Dus wat is er nou eigenlijk nodig om dit probleem op te lossen? En hun beider analyse is leiderschap. Leiderschap is essentieel, is key om het faillissement van de gezondheidszorg te voorkomen. Hij zegt ook daarbij wat eigenlijk onder goed leiderschap moet worden verstaan. Daar maakt hij een hele gedegen analyse van. Op zo'n manier die ik eigenlijk in Nederlandse literatuur nog niet heb gezien, maar die voor het publiek hier heel inspirerend zal kunnen zijn. Hij komt bijvoorbeeld met een analyse van goed leiderschap. Betekent altijd een combinatie tussen competentie aan de ene kant, dus vaardigheden als leider, en aan de andere kant karakter. Dus je inborst, je gedrevenheid en de toegevoegde waarde die je wil leveren. Die twee dingen moeten altijd parallel zijn.
As you can tell, what Danny has been talking about is the diagnosis. What we're getting into now is the prescription. And it will come as no surprise to you that the prescription has to do with leadership. You see, it's really difficult to overestimate the importance of leadership. Everything that Danny has been talking about in this past won't happen without the right kind of leadership. In fact, we are in this room now because of the leadership of some people who believe passionately about this. And we wouldn't be here talking about this if it weren't for their leadership. So leadership really does matter. And that's why we wrote the book, because we wanted to give the focus on healthcare, the solution to healthcare, as a leadership solution. Doesn't matter how good the solutions are if you don't have the leadership to be able to implement it. Now, we have a problem, though, and that is that leadership is incredibly complex. It's difficult. So I'm going to put some numbers up on the screen, and what I'd like you to do is add them up together as I expose them. So what does that come to? I need everybody's participation in this. Let me try again. Okay, so what does that come to? Okay, this is going to be a very long exercise. I need to hear everybody involved. What is that?
2014.
Okay.
2017.
There are a few people on this side that I don't hear, and a few people on this side I don't hear.
2017. 2019. 4019. 4000.
Okay, let's try that one again. So, what does that come to?
1014. 2014. 2017.
Have you noticed that when you've been had once, you're very cautious the second time?
3070, 3090, 4090, 4000.
That's right, it's actually 4100. Do you see that? 1, 2, 3, 4,000, 40, 70, 90, 100, 4100. You know, I could have sworn I have 5,000. Isn't that interesting? Well, it's a very simple point that leadership very often feels like 5,000, when in actual fact it's 4,100. You know, we operate a lot by intuition and experience, and at some point those fail us. They let us down. And when we should be seeing 4,100, we're actually seeing 5,000. I'd like to compare it to a ship. If you think about a ship, the captain on the ship, where is the captain's focus? Captain on the bridge, where is the captain looking? Horizon. He's looking outside. It's an external look. So what's he looking for? What's he concerned about? Direction. So he's got to be sure he's getting to the right port of destination. That's extremely important. But he's also looking, you know, are there storms up here? Do I need to avoid them? And sometimes when you're going, you can go on one side of an island or another. One side has a favorable current and one side doesn't. Well, you make those choices. The captain makes those kind of choices. The captain has to make sure that you're not going to bump into another ship or an iceberg or run aground, and most of all, most important, get to the right port of destination. That's organizational leadership. That's looking out for how the whole organization is doing and making sure it's getting to the place where it needs to get to. That's organizational leadership. Now, it doesn't matter how good that captain is on the bridge, if that ship is dead in the water because they don't know how to keep the engines running. You've got to have operational leadership. You've got to have a well-run ship. You've got to have cooks who can feed the crew without poisoning them. You've got to have engineers who know how to keep the engines running. And everything that's involved in running a ship that's operational leadership. You've got to keep it running well. And then you have people leadership. That's making sure that the people are in the right places and have the equipment and the tools that they need. So you want the engineers in the engine room. You don't want the cooks in the engine room. You don't want the engineers trying to make the meals. You've got to have the right people in the right places doing the right things. That's people leadership. We have to look at the relationship between organizational leadership and operational leadership. And that's a very difficult tension. Because typically what happens is we come into the workforce and our first leadership experience is typically an operational leadership role. And then we get promoted. So when someone gets promoted, why do they get promoted? They're good at their job. So when they get promoted in their new role, what do? They keep doing what they were doing before. And here's the reality, is that the recipe for success at one level is often the recipe for failure at another. This would be a frontline manager. And at the top, you'd have the CEO, for example, of an organization. So what that's telling you is that the amount of time spent at this level for someone who's a frontline manager will be mostly what? Operational leadership, right? And not a whole lot of organizational leadership. You know, they have to know that the ship is going to Buenos Aires. They don't have to worry about the weather conditions and so on at the front line, but they do have to know that this ship is going to Buenos Aires and it's not going to New York. So they have to at least know that much about the organizational direction. Now, when you have the CEO, how much time are they spending in actual operational leadership? Very little. They're spending it almost entirely here in organizational leadership. Because if they're not, they're like the captain who spends all his time in the engine rooms trying to fix engines, or they're in the kitchen trying to tell the cooks, hey, these are the ingredients you need to use. What I do want to conclude with is this. You know, when you think about one of the key components of character in leadership is courage. When we think about healthcare, I think it's really about long-term guts. And I think that's what we need to be applying to this. I think we need to think about what are the long-term implications? How can we sustain, keep doing so that this really is the transformation that we're trying to seek.
En ik vond het wel mooi in het tweede verhaal om de analogie even vast te pakken. Dat je met elkaar toch even gezamenlijk de richting moet bepalen. En soms ook moet herdefiniëren waar je naartoe wil met elkaar. Om met name dat gemeenschappelijke doel met elkaar te bepalen.
We doen het allemaal samen, dokters, verpleegkundigen, alle professionals. Iedereen voelt zich onderdeel van het grotere geheel. Maar toch hebben we vandaag geleerd dat leiderschap toch het verschil kan maken. Dus wat ik mee naar huis neem voor morgen is dat ik die positie toch nog iets sterker durf te pakken. Omdat het verschil kan maken tussen goede zorg en nog veel betere zorg.